Okay, here we are. You're listening to the Living Mandala podcast. My name is Aura. Never gets old. All right, so this is the last episode in the Chakras of the House series. This has been quite an adventure, moving up the body from the perspective of each chakra, thinking about it, listening to Dr. Bill Barnard talk about each chakra, and then thinking about how they sort of take form in your house. And so this is a series, as I've said at the very beginning, if you're just looking for a direction, just like a way to kind of think through your things and reorganize stuff, spin you around. This is a good direction to send you in to just examine and explore your reality in your home and get to know your home. And today is all about the auric field. So it's not really a chakra, right? It's more of like, I don't know. I mean, I would love to hear what your thoughts are on what an auric field even is.
No, I know. No, that's such a vast question in some ways, right? So I'm trying to think how to focus it. You can almost start in sort of compact and in with the physical body, right? And so on some levels, the auric field, they call it the etheric field, is that which gives vitality to the body, right? So it's understood to be that, and that we have, it's almost like the life energy of the body that's sort of radiating out in essence, right? But it also is sort of like indications of connection to that prana, that they have these different, what's called koshas, the different sheaths, and what is called the pranamaya kosha, the sheath of energy, right? Of life energy, like what makes us alive, right? And therefore, it connects everything, right? It's like all because it's like that life energy, that prana, that chi, and the Chinese tradition, like energizes everything. It's all simultaneously, and that it also has a sense of connection to just life itself, right? But you can, at least classically, so you can feel that almost like a little closer to the body typically. That sort of, it's like a particular sort of energetic sense of sort of the etheric sheath, or whatever. I don't know. I'm gonna, whatever with that. It's like, but to me, I do think that it's clear that we're living beings. Right. We have life flowing through us, right? And that what a miracle that is, right? And yet it's also a sense of what they call what they call the sukshma sharira. And the sukshma sharira means a subtle body. So that there's a, and that's, I think, a wider notion. It's a sense that there's a sort of in-between space between just our pure physicality and the physicality of the cosmos and those sort of really radiant, ethereal realms of these high levels we were talking about before, right? And so that this subtle body is a way to it's a visionary body. It's the body of dreams, but it's the body of thought and feeling and all these things that we can't really quantify, but we can qualify. So it means that they're qualities of existence, like thought and feeling. From this perspective, they're inherent, they're just themselves. And they're self-evident. We feel our feelings and we think our thoughts. So they're illuminated from within in that sense, right? And so there's this sense that the sukshma sharira is sort of, we talk about like an aura around us, right? Now I don't want to, I have also some fears, they're just sort of fears about the aura, but there is that sense of, that we have different levels of light and energy that surround us and that radiate from us and that pour into us. So I'm not so sure where the auric field is. There's energy pouring in through the chakras, right? And so it's sort of like the auric field is also so that almost like an important reception to my mind all dealing with all this energy that's flowing in through these universal streams, right? And so there's a sense that the auric field in that case is like you're it's re-establishing the sense that we're beings of light instead of beings in the sheer physical. And so it's a sense of, it's light meaning not physical light, but like different sort of vibratory qualities of visionary experience, imagination, subtle perceptions, but also just our day-to-day normal thoughts and feelings.
Yeah, and I feel like this is also a place, where you and I were talking about this earlier, not in any of the recording, but about how just living in the city, you can also just like you can take things on in your field, whether it just be like so much inbound noise, and just intake of like more polluted air from being in the city. There's that kind, but it's just, the city's just so intense, you know what I mean? And it elicits sometimes, nervous reactions in our bodies that show up in our field, and the city can just make us feel thick and clangy.
Oh, and I think we have a very specific sort of feel. This very specific, almost like a flow of colors or a patterning of music, a melody and rhythm or something like this, that each one of us has. It's extremely unique. And so the auric field is also that.
Yeah.
It's that sort of pulsing patterned, sort of sonic and sort of, light, sort of vibratory, but also, sort of like it's this interplay. But, ideally the goal, and this is the goal of all the spiritual traditions, is to transmute and upgrade and transfigure your auric field.
Right.
And so to make it so that we can live life that's really, again, transparent and grounded and open. And so this is where, to me, it gets into all this sort of more highest levels, but I mean, sort of. This is like what they would call, it's just at its highest level, right? Because you're moving out into a sense that you're awakening to what you've always been here and just living it. So this, to me, in its highest sense, is like you're living in your living mandala, and there's a sense that from the highest level that it's all interconnected, and that you sort of, there's not really a boundary to where we are, but we have a center.
Yeah, the center.
And
we have a house usually.
Exactly, right. And so,
home base.
Exactly, right? And so, but you're the owner of the house,
the owner of your house, and you're owner of your house.
Exactly.
You know what I mean?
Exactly. And so, to me, it's like this is just sort of like living your life. You're practicing being a Buddha, right? You're just integrate. So, like all those qualities we've talked about, like starting with, with a Muladhara, being grounded and centered, we can bring that into our lives, right? Yeah. And feeling just really stable, and we can bring in the second, the Svadhisthana, right? We can bring in that sense of fluidity and vitality and playfulness and joy and pleasure and freedom, all that into our lives, right? So we can just sort of like, this, to me, this is like we integrating it all, bringing in all of the, the beauty of that sort of third chakra, the Manipura, of just courage and persistence and hard work and determination and regal authority, that's all, right? To bring that into our lives, why not, right? And say with a heart, right? Like, yeah, we can actually bring, not only heart, we've been talking about this, opening our hearts and exploring and giving space for compassion and kindness and really like feeling like and learning about these feelings, and they're not just like individual feelings, they're like flowings of divine energies on that level, and so it's like, okay, we got to open this up, right? But then we can be in that heartfelt center and just shine the light of the heart onto all the other chakras, right? And so a lot of this, to me, that we talk about auric field, is learning how to interweave the energies of all.
Integrate
it all and play, where they begin like this huge symphony where they're playing off each other, right? And so then you can bring in that sort of sense of being a conduit and transparent and expressing yourself freely when sort of, linked in with these sort of embodying these sort of higher energies and all that sort of stuff, right? We bring this into our lives, of course we can, right? And just free our self-expression up and share ourselves, right? And linked with the heart, again, we were talking about that, right? And then, the opening up the third eye. I mean, what an amazing thing that we can do that. And I think we can do that with grace. And it's something we haven't talked about, but I'm a big believer of this is, we can do this self-exploration ourselves, but even the desire to do that self-exploration comes from sort of that opening of grace. Right? So there's some ways in which this light is inherent to our being. And so this is like I think this area to me feels like the process of illuminating all of those, bringing, in this case, the visionary insight into who we are, right? And all our levels and sort of seeing underneath the illusion and really getting glimpses of divine nature and of the preciousness of this reality and all that, right? Beginning to opening up the portals of exploration and of dialogue and interaction with all these dimensions of our being and maybe even the beings that inhabit these dimensions, right? And now to sort of just like wake up and go into the very highest of who we are. Why not? Why limit ourselves, right? And so to me, this one also has something to do with that. And
something to do with that.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, this, it's like a field of emanation, kind of, is how your auric field. And so, when bringing it back to the house, there's a couple different directions, that you can apply the auric field, sort of, tune in to that on your house. And the first way would be, just take a look around. Your auric field of your house is literally sort of like, your front yard, your side yard, your backyard, like, just what's going on in your house's auric field. Right there. And just what's going on right there. And does it inspire you? Does it need to be pruned? Does it need to be cleared? Does it need to be taken care of in some way? Do we need to mow? Like, what's going on? And so, is there some kind of a, exercise of that nature, sort of, landscaping, and then, kind of bringing it, a little bit closer to the world around you, tuning into the auric field of your house. You can also come inside your house, and this would be a good time to think about doing a clearing, if you really have systematically gone through, on this journey, of taking a look and examining and sort of like slowly working your way through your home, you're at a good point now to probably do a clearing in your own home, as a part of that same kind of auric field hygiene, I guess. Another thing I had down, with regards to your how it comes back to your house is, what are the little tentacles that go out into the world? Where that's the streets that you really you take all the time, to and from the grocery store, to and from your friend's house. Like, what are your rabbit trails that you're always taking? And those are little wormholes into your reality. You leave a lot of energy, you take a lot of energy through those rabbit holes. And, I found, I live in a really kind of interesting transitional part of Dallas. And I've learned that there's different routes I can take. There's different routes where, like, the streets are really busy and I choose to take a slower street because I feel better in my body if I'm not navigating the busy street versus the slower street in my neighborhood. I'd rather just go slower and have a nicer drive home than take the fastest route, right? That's just one of my little tentacles in the quirks of my neighborhood. But but in thinking about that all kind of is out of your field. That's in your kind of your out of the field. This is also a good time, I mentioned the out in the gardens, the landscaping, that kind of thing, but also specifically the front porch. The front porch, if you're fortunate enough to have a house with a front porch, we have a whole porch culture in our neighborhood. So I really like how it's like an outdoor living room, you know. But that's kind of the initial little auric field of your house. Is your, you know, kind of your front porch. So I have that down too. You know, it's a good time, like I said, to evaluate your routes. You know, you can also look for, you know, objects or energies or, you know, things in the surrounding buildings. So what I'm talking about is, you know, pointy energy coming from like different roof lines or things. This is a good opportunity to just go and see it. Go and just look at what's pointing at your auric field of your house. You know, what's pointing at you 24/7. You know, or there are trees, or just like what's going on in your larger auric field. You know, do you have some kind of energy coming your way? Is there a plant you can put in front of that? You know, to like, you know, close off one of those punctures in your auric field, I guess. Let's see, in terms of, you know, some self-care. This is a good time. You briefly touched on it, like color visualizations. You know, that can be a good way to, you know, kind of regenerate your auric field and flood your auric field. Whenever I do space clearings, I always work with rose quartz pink. That's always the color that I work with, because I just figure you can't go wrong with rose quartz pinks. And it feels very heart chakra to me. But saturating my field and then using my imagination to saturate the house's field with rose quartz pink, you know, is one way that you can kind of work with, you know, color. There is a color visualization, like meditation that you and I were talking about earlier, and I said I would do a separate recording of it. Yeah. So I'm saying it out loud. I'll make a separate recording. If you want to just try it, it's like a little color visualization exercise to like flood your auric field with different colors. And it's it makes you feel kind of like revitalized. And then I also have you get some fresh flowers for your house, you know, and just get some fresh flowers. You know, one of the things that it hasn't really fallen neatly into the chart of correspondences here would be, you know, the importance and the dynamism and the vitality that just plants and flowers bring to your property. Sure. Inside and outside. That's going to always sort of bring, you know, you bring more life force energy into your space with healthy food and plants and flowers and things. You know, that's going to also bolster your personal auric field with good food and nutrition sort of, you know, shining out, but also, you know, it's into the larger field of your home, you know, feeling that it's just good for your energy of the house. Okay, and then in terms of the astrology, I know you've just been waiting to see where I would link this up. So, because it's the auric field, the day of the week, forget about it. We want to know the time of day you were born, okay? The time of day you were born. Because they say that, you know, the time when you were born will, in astrology, will start your housing. That's where your first house is. That's your like initial, you know, from, you know, going from water womb to land air, you know, the mathematical, planetary, gravitational imprint or whatever. That's your natal chart, right? But the time of your birth is infused in all of that. And so, you know, when in the day you were born really matters. And so that's your presentation time, right? And so therefore, the sign that I would link would be your rising sign. What I would link with the auric field, your rising sign. So take a look at your natal chart, where your rising sign, what sign it's in. That's, you know, your auric field is kind of your first impression, you know, your first impressions with each other. You know, your auric fields interact with other auric fields. That's, you know, the dynamism when, you know, two people or two animals or two entities collide, right? And the rising sign is sort of I think of it as like the cover of your book. And so that felt good to align it with the auric field. And then in terms of, you know, the planets, well, they don't nicely lean up the auric field doesn't line up with any planets nicely. So I thought the nodes, that would be an interesting one, because the nodes in your natal chart are mathematically calculated points. And they're not actually planets. They're calculations. And so if you're not sure what the nodes are, look up what the nodes are. Look up where the nodes are in your chart. I'm sure there'll be a message for you. So what else to say about the auric field? Or, if not just that, then is there anything else to kind of land the plane on with this final, in summation? This is our moment of integration.
Very, very auric field-ish, right? Right. I know there's so much with it. There's so much to talk about. We're talking about the subtle body and subtle visions. We're talking about us being energy beings of light that sort of, and that sort of interplay of the fields, and how we can develop that perception of, because it's my wife ran that energy healing school for years, and it helped out. We both studied with energy healer, this beautiful man, this Turkish healer, Livet Basi, and we just had this years of training of how to sort of perceive and work with energies, right? And it's just like that, and to really live in a world where these auric fields aren't just theories, where you can begin to really have some nuanced, subtle sense of the specificity of the auric field of another person, right? And be able to really feel, what they're working with. Because that's how we were working with is like to work with the auric field, so you could really begin to be a healer. You had to be able to see what's happened with someone on those levels and really feel it. And then I feel compassion for that, but clarity, so to be able to sort of, that it's just that, I think it's beautiful, the sense that even on that level, it's possible to really just develop that capacity within ourselves, as most people aren't even aware of, right? So to really, so that we can grow in the awareness of auric fields, which itself is a very auric field thing to do. And it's just sort of feeling that interconnection to it all. And so to me, it becomes sort of like how to live your life in the very center of all of this interacting patterns of energy and qualities of consciousness and of experience that we're going to right now, right? And feeling, this is the living mandala to me, right? Which I love it. It's such a beautiful way to depict even that you have, and for your company, the work you do, because that sense of, this to me is like, the house is a genuine extension of who we are. And in this case, it's like how to sort of just be, to create a world that has this beautiful extension of us, right? To live in that, and as much as possible, given the limitations that life brings to us, but to have that sense that I want to create, in the Buddhist sense, a pure land. I want to create a world that's the most conducive to my waking up and to helping other beings to wake.
Yeah.
And the house is a beautiful nesting place.
And you can actually have it talk back to you and reinforce things that are important to you and that you love, and reinforce your relationships. And you can actually entice it to sort of work with you and be on your team, that's the whole premise. That's it in a nutshell.
Yeah, like photos of your loved ones, right? And uplifting pictures. And so this is like, I was telling you at one point that this, to me, in this level, we're talking about making our whole life an altar.
Yes, I think that's really beautiful.
Yeah. And so it's like that sense of just everything is there as a way for us to feel uplifted, idea. And even tough, difficult things can be moments for our heart to open up and melt with compassion, and, et cetera, et cetera.
Yeah. No, that's a beautiful vision. It's a beautiful, because it's true. It is, it's true.
And we devalue ourselves so much, so it's beautiful to sort of wake up to sort of the inherent, amazing wonder, miracle of who each one of us is.
Right. And I place a real value on, really making things beautiful, in a space. And, at least for my home, and I look around your home too, and you really seem to value beauty, and it's a neat thing to prioritize, in a world that just feels so sped up and so optimized and so like, you know, just sometimes not very beautiful.
Exactly.
Right. So
yeah, and and beauty itself is one of those divine qualities, and so
yeah,
why not create, if to the extent possible, and I mean, growing into it. But it's like, to me, it's like that is one of the clear signs for me of like fruits of my spiritual life, is an increasingly deep appreciation for beauty.
Yeah.
And letting it really touch me and feeling the divine energy of beauty.
Right.
And so if I can, to the extent, create a house that's filled with items of beauty that open my heart, that uplift me, that remind me of the divine presence, that bring in the energy of life with plants, that can carry memories of trips and being with loved ones, and all of that just feels like, yeah, why not? Create that space is most conducive to me flourishing. It's like so beautiful you're doing this work to help people with.
Well, and I've learned a lot from you. I mean, I really appreciate, that you do in fact live like as if you live in an altar, and you've made your life an altar, and it's very evident, and it's neat to just be inspired, just by your example, and just learning from the best. So
Oh, I don't know about that. I go to your little hobbit house of miracles and wonder and magic, and I'm like, oh, okay, I see what's going on here.
Anyway, all right. Well, this has been a really fun time. We've recorded this all, in one fell swoop in the summer while you're off, you're not teaching. So this is going to roll out, every other week. And by the time this episode airs, I looked at the calendar, it's going to be like November.
Congratulations.
So thank you. You really hooked a girl up here with, a really fun series. And thank you for your time. And, of course, liquidlightbook.com is your website for your book, Liquid Light. What's the full title again?
Liquid Light, Ayahuasca Spirituality, and the Santo Daime Tradition.
That's right. Ayahuasca Spirituality and the Santo Daime Tradition. And then also theheartofawakening.org is also a good website to go for more information about various sutra study groups that Bill does. So anyway, thank you very much
So welcome
for being just a wonderful conversationalist, and it's been a real pleasure and a real joy. And I can't wait to, hear all these roll out and get to relive this again. It'll be so much fun. So thank you. Let me get my bell here. You're listening to the Living Mandala podcast.